Yep.
You know, you don't have a beefy muscle there.
Yep.
So we get, you know, the kids clean everything up.
No, I was here for
It'll be a lot easier for the little kids.
Okay.
Well, then,
Have John talked to her.
but I'm close toward learning. I'll go get some. And I told him.
No, that was only one guy.
a doctor.
Okay.
For the siding and standing, that we're okay with
The
that.
trailer and that, that's all.
Yeah, he was just
Okay. You know, when I talk to him, he's offering.
Depending on which clock you look at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have no place to put the chips.
Yep, yep.
Well, according to that one, we've got 1 minute to go, so I think we could go ahead and do the pledge, and when we're done with that, it would be time to open the meeting.
Right.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Oh, we did all this.
Where we live.
Either live or Memorex, or
Uh-huh. That's the issue.
yes. So, we call the April 11th, 2017 City Council meeting to order. All council members present, including
Yes.
and Engineer Ryan. Scott Briggs' replacement for the night, which I don't have the name.
I'm David Anderson.
Anderson? David Anderson. I know another David Anderson that I've just been dealing with too. And Administrator Paulson. Do we have any, first off, citizens' comments. Do we have anybody that, we don't have anybody that's not here for something that isn't on the agenda, so we can skip that. Any changes, additions, or corrections to the agenda?
Under new business F, add just update on St. Mark's Materials, possible project, I guess you could say, a request to apply 2.5 acres from the city. And that's just an update.
Yeah.
It's really not a lot of detail we'll be able to get into at this point.
And that's all?
Yep.
Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I would like to make that one.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Consent agenda. Is there anything that should be removed from consent agenda, or do we have a motion to adopt consent agenda?
I would do it, but I'm letting it open for somebody else to do it. Okay. So moved.
We'll second that then.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was hard to get past.
Yeah.
Then we have no presentations, public hearings, etc., so we can move on to engineering. Update on fire facility project. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. In your packet tonight is a memo with some attachments on the status update of the fire project. So I'll go through the contents of the memo. And then I've got a couple of other updates since the memo was prepared, so I'll review with you. As far as the construction status, the building punch list, as you know, we had done 2 walkthrough meetings and a punch list had been generated from that. As of March 24th, which was essentially a week and a half ago, approximately 60% of the items have been completed on the punch list. The rest of the items, excuse me, are on schedule to be completed by April 30th. The roof, we did have an on-site meeting with the roof vendor, Carlisle Systems. that took place on March 28th. There were representatives from the city, the fire department, excuse me, the county, the contractor, the subcontractor, myself, Corey Brunton, and the mayor were present. Most of those people got up on the roof. I did not, the mayor did not. But the contractor did, the roofing contractor did, Corey Brunton did, the Carlisle representative did, and then Wayne from Public Works did, and also Pete as well. So we had, and they were up there for about an hour walking around on the roof. The basic summary of the meeting is that the roof installation was looked at and approved. Everything's okay with the roof. There were 5 items that were identified as minor punch list items that Carlisle requested the contractor to touch up before they would issue the certification and the warranty. Just 5 o'clock tonight, I got an email from the contractor saying that the roofing subcontractor has completed all the punch list items and has submitted the paperwork to Carlisle to document the completion of those items. The Carlisle representative will now review that paperwork and decide whether they need to come back and visually look at the roof or if they can accept the paperwork. But either way, the Carlisle rep has indicated that the full warranty is going to be issued on the roof. So I think that for the city, that's the bottom line, to know that the installation process was accepted and certified, and that the roof, we're going to be getting the full warranty per the plans and specifications.
How did they look at the insulation? I mean, did they pull back corner of the roof, or?
I don't know the certification process they go through. I mean, I wasn't up on the roof,
Okay.
but they walked the entire they walked the entire surface of the roof. They were up there for probably close to an hour.
Quite a while. I was wondering, I heard that installation, I'm wondering, did you mean to say installation?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Installation, not installation.
Okay.
They certified the
Yeah.
installation.
All right.
Pardon me, yeah. Working my enunciation.
Yes.
The exterior signage for the name and the address numbers were also installed on March 28th. And if you go out and look at the building now, you'll see that, and it looks very nice. The remaining work, obviously, we do have a list of items to complete on the site work with the seating and the blacktopping and all of that. That's on schedule, or that's scheduled to be completed by May 31st, which leads us into substantial completion. If you recall, the substantial completion date on the project originally was March 2nd. Last month, we approved a $0 change order to extend that out to March 17th to allow them to complete the testing of the phone line for the fire alarm system. That did get completed, and attached with you, the memo was the updated certificate of occupancy that the county issued on March 17th, which extended the certificate of occupancy until June 1st to allow them to complete the remaining site items. So with that, we did review the substantial completion with the USDA, and they were okay with us preparing those documents and getting them distributed for execution. They went off to contractor signed off on it, supplied the supporting documentation they needed to. They went to the city's executed documents, so signed copies will be distributed to all parties now. So the building is deemed officially substantially complete at this point, even though there are some punch list items that will be finished up here over the months of April. In terms of payment requests, there is no payment request this month. Since they were just working on punch list over the last month, they did not have a payment request to submit. The USDA has concurred with the last pay request that we approved last month, number 7, and also change order number 6, which was the $0 change order to extend the completion date. The upcoming actions is the contractor will be working to complete the punch list by the end of this month, and then working to complete the site work by the end of May. A couple of items we wanted to review with you in terms of completing the work. On page 2 of the memo, you'll notice there's an item for optional work on retractable power cord reels in the apparatus bay. The plan that's prepared and bid included 7 retractable cord reels that are roof mounted for 50-foot cords to be extended down and plug into the vehicles. The 3 bays that were not equipped with the cord reels as part of the plan were the 2 bays in the wash bay in the very north end of the building, since that's a wet environment. Cord were designed for that end of the building. And then the very southwest bay, which is nearest the office area in the back. And it was our understanding during the design process that bay was going to be used for the antique pumper that would need a plug-in. During the walkthrough, the fire department asked if a quote could be provided for adding a cord reel for that southwest bay, the one nearest the office area, and then to add at least roof-mounted outlets in the wash bay so that if they wanted to add cord reels in the future, they could bring cord reels over from the existing fire hall and relocate them in the wash bay. So a quote has been prepared and was submitted by the contractor and is included for your consideration. The amount of the quote is $944.52. And it's something where there are a handful of electrical items on the punch list that remain to be completed. The contractor is waiting to know whether or not this work is going to be added to the contract, because if it is, they want to order that materials, bring it out there with them so they can get all their work completed at one time. So really the timing is appropriate for this meeting for the council to consider whether or not you wish to add this optional work into the contract. It's certainly not required that you do, but it's something that the fire department wanted to get a quote for at this time to see if we could have it added as part of the contract, and the price to add it as part of the contract would be $944.52. Obviously, you get the warranty and same warranty as the rest of the building, so there's that advantage to doing it. But if you feel you can get a better price doing it later after the fact through a local electrical contractor, you could certainly go that route as well. But at this point, we'd be looking for direction from the council one way or the other so that we can inform the contractor so they know whether or not they need to order these materials.
How far have they gotta run this line, to connect them,
Which one?
for the rails? Yeah,
Well, the-
added ones that you want in.
The two in the wash bay have to go with conduit, they gotta run down the wall. The way we talked was come down the wall about halfway and then put the conduits. And then we'd attach the cord reels there so they were up on the side. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, probably 15 feet of conduit for them too. And then the other one, I think the other one was just mainly the cord reel, right, for the old pumper, the back one.
Yeah, I don't know if they got to run if they got to tie into that junction box and come back
Yeah,
down.
they might have to,
with
I don't know.
conduit.
They
If
got to move
did-
some of the outlets because they were in the wrong spots.
Yeah, and that they're doing as part of the punch list,
Yep.
right, at no cost to the contract.
Yeah, they put them back by the back bumpers, not the front bumpers.
Yeah, 3 of them they put in the,
Yeah.
3 of the 7. But, I mean, the total width of the building is 80 feet, so if they had to run conduit for that one in the antique
They
pump,
talked about tying, the way Ted talks, they could tie into one of the other conduits.
Okay, so they can go shorter run than.
Short, but that one has to be in before we can move in, because that truck that sits there has to have electricity to keep it pumped up. So,
Yeah, so the quote is for installing all 3 outlets in all 3 spots, outlet boxes in all 3 spots, and then one cord reel in the southwest bay.
Well, are you saying that truck needs that, which I realize it does?
Yep, all the trucks get plugged in except for one, which gets plugged in with air. So that's why we have that air line that goes over.
Upstairs, yeah.
But so the main tanker that would sit in the wash bay, and one of the two, which is probably the front, he'd be the first one out, has to have electricity to plug in to keep the air brakes charged and the battery charged.
Yeah. And that's that line that runs down.
That's one of them that's not there.
Okay.
So why wasn't that put there if you knew that you're gonna park the truck there? Why wasn't this
That
put in
was
the
the
plan?
question I was
It was one of the things that got missed.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think
You can
that,
blame it on me, Fred, there's
no,
so much.
I'm just
going
asking,
through
I'm
this
just
that-
asking.
Some things just got missed. And this is one of them things.
I think part of it too was with being a wash bay, with being a wet environment, they were trying to limit the amount of exposed electrical
Yeah.
outlets in that area. But
So how does this change if they were trying to limit the exposed outlets?
Well, I
And
think
how are you
it's-
gonna put one there?
Well, I think it's not, it's
Two or-
not something that can't be done with code, it's something that, I don't think it was clear in the communication
Yeah.
at the time of the design that the fire department wanted them out there. But now, in the walkthrough, when we walked through every room and looked in detail at, the fit and finish of the paint and the doors and the windows, we got out into that area, I think that's when the fire department indicated,
Yep,
we'd like to have a couple outlets added in this wash bay, so that we can bring over cord reels and
so
plug
we're, yeah,
those.
we're trying to bring, because they're shorter, we can't bring all the cord, I mean, we're gonna probably take them, I don't know, but all the cord reels won't reach from the ceiling down to the trucks. Because this fire hall's a lot higher than that one.
Mhm.
So that's why, but these being they're halfway down the wall, we could take, we're taking two of them to save money and to move over there. So I mean, we're trying to do that, but we can't make it from the ceiling all the way down. So,
So would this not require it, does it require another change order? to
Correct,
add
yep.
this to the-
Yep, and we did draft a change order in the event that you did want to have this work done under the contract. As I said, you could have it done later outside the contract if you wanted to just hire an electrical contractor to do it directly. And it's one of those items too, where if it had been in the plans originally, that cost would have been added on to the contract originally, so it's one of those where, for the cost of the change order, you're getting materials and labor added to the contract.
John, did you by chance talk to an outside contractor?
electric, no, I have not.
I think due to timing right now, it might be better to look at them doing it. You know, if it's something that wasn't contingent, time sensitive on them moving the truck in, I think that might be a different story as far as looking at an outside contractor, but because of the timing of it, it might just make
Well,
more
and
sense.
considering the fact that the electricians will be there to do other things already, so you save a little,
Mobilization.
yes, there you go.
Turnkey. My estimation is that the 944 is reasonable for it to be all done. I'm kind of considering the electrical work that I've had done down at the shop, even though I got a little bit of a break, I think and feel that that would be acceptable, the 944.52. I don't like the idea, but I'm gonna make the motion that we accept it.
We're making a motion to approve change order, let's see, do we have a number on here?
I believe it's number 7.
Yeah, that's in here.
Okay, change order number 7. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So, that, I believe, covers engineering for tonight's meeting.
Actually,
No.
two more items. Good. One is, here, and if we could pass these out.
Oh.
7 of them, so there should be enough to make it all the way around the mark. While they're being passed, I got an update, email here from the contractor at 3 p.m. this afternoon with an updated schedule on some of the punch list work. Some of the actual, the final site work. They're going to get the flagpole staked so that the flagpoles can be installed. They want to start working on concrete work next week, and they're hoping to get blacktop scheduled for parking lots either the first or second week in May. Which brings up a question that the administrator and I thought we had a little more time to consider, but it's something that we had talked about with council last fall when they were doing the curbing around the parking lot. If you remember, there were 3 pieces of curb that we identified as optional in the contract. We got a price in the bid to do the work by the foot, but it was the council's decision if you wanted any or all of this curbing to be done. We brought it up last fall when they were doing the rest of the curb, and there wasn't really a conclusion reached, so we set it aside and said we'd bring it back at the appropriate time. And the reason I bring it back now is, since the small parking lot on the south side of the building got done, and you've been able to see that parking lot in place here over the winter and the spring, probably the most noticeable piece is along that entrance drive, where you'll see tire tracks if somebody goes off the edge of that, the blacktop driveway that doesn't have curb. You get the tire trucks and rutting in that along the edge of that driveway. And so I don't think it's necessary to do the long piece of curb on the very west side of the site. The piece on the very south side of the south parking lot, that one you could go either way on it. Your bituminous would probably last longer if you installed it, but the cost of it at $4,000 is probably more than you may want to spend on that. So really, I just wanted to bring up for discussion here tonight, before the contractor schedules their blacktopping, would be that 43 feet coming in the driveway. I've got that one box there that says length approximately 43 feet. And then just wrapping around the corner, coming back down that 20 feet. So the 43 feet coming in the driveway, based on the price they gave us in the bid of $29.75 a foot, would be $1279.25. And then if you wanted to wrap it down along the edge of that first parking stall for another 20 feet, that would be another $595. Now again, this is something you could come back, a year or two down the line and add in later with a, if you wanted to hire a cement contractor to do this work directly after the fact. But if we wanted to have it done as part of the contract, I wanted to bring it up so we could have a conversation tonight, because the time to do this concrete curb under the contract would be before they do the paving. Because they do have that second layer of paving to do on that south lot. And if they're trying to get that paving scheduled for the middle of May, we'd want to have this curb put in before that paving got scheduled. So it's kind of a last minute addition. I apologize that we didn't have this information at the time the memo was prepared, but I guess what I'm really looking for is if the fire department or if the council had been over there and looked at those ruts and really, had that kind of, oh yeah, that opinion that we definitely need to have that curb on. If we do, then we should add it now. If there's really not that strong of an opinion at this point, then it's.
It'd be nice to have a whole entire thing curved and keep the dirt out, but,
Sure.
I mean, it's
From
up to
washing
council.
down,
Yeah.
from washing down off of the street there.
Nope.
Yeah, I was over there and looked at that, and I'm wondering if that truck that came in there to put up the lettering drove across that particular part of it. And that, personally, I'm looking at it, a great big rock, there's a whole lot of curving of people driving over it. They're gonna remember it the second time.
Yep. I think that was actually done more in the winter.
Yeah, it was,
Yes,
because
I'm agreeing.
when we were there for the roofing meeting, that rut was there already.
Yeah.
And that lettering didn't go on until after the roofing meeting was done. So that rut, yeah.
And that's the problem about it, is you don't know whether you're plowing or whatever, you don't know where that side is. So,
Yeah,
in the spring, the early fall, late spring snowfalls, I think is probably where it ended up happening, was in the spring. Somebody drove through it because they didn't have a clue where it was. There was still work going on, and so with the curb, at least in there, it would help you define where the parking lot is. There's no doubt about it for plowing or driving or. But
Yeah, and that most important piece is probably that coming down the throat of the driveway there, that 43 feet coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get there, the parking lot actually widens out. Yeah. Because there will be striping on the parking stall, so people will know where the stalls are. It's just where the edge of that driveway is when you're driving in, especially with that driveway curving a little bit. So, again, we could do any part of this that you want, or we could hold off and you could look at getting it quoted later after the fact. Just looking to give the contractor some kind of indication before they schedule the blacktopping if we want to add any of this curb.
how much was all that?
The 43 feet coming down the driveway would be $1,279.25. And that price was set at the time we took bids. Every contractor gave us a bid by the foot.
And is that by the foot still
Yep,
good?
$29.75. Yeah, it's still in our contract. So,
And then another 500 to go to the first stall?
yep, and then if you turned the corner and came back down that 20 feet, would be another $595 to do that part. And the $29.75 is, in terms of pricing, it's higher than we'd see like on a street project. Like our price on First Street when we did that project was a lower price, but that's because that was the primary work on that, was the street improvements. Whereas here, the primary work is the building, so those, the non-primary works are always a little bit higher. So I think the unit price per foot is reasonable. If you were to add it after the fact, we'd probably be looking at something about the same price range. You might be able to quote it for maybe $25 or $20 a foot if you had a local contractor that you could deal with after the fact. But,
I was guessing it'd probably be more this year.
yeah,
I mean, everything seems to always go up.
yeah. I mean, I don't think the $29.75 is an unreasonable price. If it was, I wouldn't even bring it to you for a year consideration.
I guess,
If you're okay with it, want to live with it for a year or two and see how it goes, you certainly could do that.
like you said, the cords, we gotta have the cords. Well, this we don't need.
Yep. And it's something you could add later if you decide you do need it.
We need the big rock there,
Huh?
big rock, a big rock.
Could do that
There you
too.
go, we've got lots of those around.
Yeah,
And not only that, but you know, let's say you get 6 inches of snow or 7 inches, the person that's not familiar with that, they're still gonna hit the curb regardless of what. That's like when contractors go out to do a parking lot, they have guide stakes around so that they got some kind of an idea where they are.
yeah, and you could try some kind of guide stake with reflectors. I mean, they sell those at home improvement stores, and you could put along that side of that driveway.
This ain't the main parking lot for the firemen anyways.
Correct.
It's just for
Correct.
visitors, so it's
Yep.
not a earth shattering.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have control over when people are using that driveway. It's only when there's an event going on there or some reason for people to be coming to that parking lot, in which case you probably got that parking lot cleared off already for the people you're anticipating they're gonna show up. So, okay, well, I mean, it sounds like the consensus I'm hearing is that we don't wanna add it at this time. And then I'll tell the contractor that we confirm we're not gonna do anything with the unit price curve, and they can go ahead and schedule their blacktopping when their paving crew's available. Okay, very good. Thank you, council. And the only other item was more just for your information. If you recall back at the February meeting, we went over all the quotes for the exterior signage. And the one kind of unique sign was the shield logo that was proposed for the south wall above the main doorway entrance. And that was proposed to be a cast aluminum sign that was die cut and painted, and it was a pretty heavy duty sign, very nice sign. And the cost on that, the quoted cost on that was about $6,800. And the council's opinion at that time was that, well, it was a very nice sign, it was also a pretty expensive sign, and we wanted to look at some other options. Well, I just wanted to give you an update that the architect has identified another option that he's been looking into that he thinks might be feasible. And yeah, I had a color version that I had sent, but it basically would be this design. They could put lettering in that top portion of the shield as well, but it would be made out of this polymetal material. Well, in fact, I've got a sample of it in my car, which I can bring in after. I meant to bring it in for the meeting, but I can run out after the meeting and get it. It's essentially thin sheets of aluminum on either side of a plastic center. So the material cost is a lot lower than a full metal sign. It's about 1/8 inch thick, and they would die cut the polymetal to this exact shape, and they would apply the painted graphics to it. Now the advantage of this is that the cost is like 1/5 the sign of the price of the sign we were looking at before. But what we don't know is, because this is a newer material and we don't have as much experience with it, is what's the longevity, what's the life expectancy of the material, what's the durability of the graphics on the material. I mean, would they be more susceptible to sun fade, or would the graphics, would the sign lose its visibility sooner than the aluminum sign would? So at this point, we just wanted to give you the information that it looks like there is another option we'll at least be able to bring back to you. We don't have all the information on it now, but it looks like it'll have some pros and cons. Pro being significantly better price, but one of the cons may be that it might not have the life expectancy of the aluminum sign we had originally looked at. So no action required at this time, just an update on that option that we're looking into. So with that, we've gotten the actions that we needed from you tonight. We got direction on the change order for the cord reels. We got direction on the unit price curve. So unless there are any further questions, I think that concludes the update on the fire station project.
Any further questions? Okay, so I believe I can safely say this time we are done with the engineering and can move on to legal. And first item there being an update on 411 Bullis. What do you have for us on that?
Thank you, Mayor. There isn't a whole lot to update the council on with respect to the 411 Bullis property. Obviously, last month at the meeting, we learned that the home had been removed. I don't know the exact update on what's happened at the property since then. I know that the chief is here. I don't know if he wants to talk about that. But in terms of the appeal itself, there was one of the individuals who was living in that home who filed an appeal. That was dismissed by the appellate court. There are some items that are still being processed with respect to that, but that's really the only update that I have in terms of the property.
So there's no word on how things are going as far as us being able to demolish the property?
Well, I know that we were looking at options for how we can demolish that last building, that last building that was on the property. The information that we received from the building official just prior to the last meeting
It's not good.
was not good, yeah. It doesn't provide the authority for the city to take that building down, so we're kind of at a standstill.
The summary is no actual update.
Yes.
Not surprising. So we move on then to joint powers agreement and court services amendment renewal. This is another one of the yearly check the box and sign new papers again and continue.
Exactly, Mr. Mayor. The agreements that are in front of the council tonight are between the BCA and the city's prosecutor and police department, as well as the courts and the city's prosecutor and police department. They're run-of-the-mill agreements. They're necessary for the city to be able to access the information and the criminal justice systems that they need to. I've taken a look at the agreements and they look just fine.
So just to change things up, I would move that we approve Resolution 2017-08, resolution approving the State of Minnesota Joint Powers Agreement to the City of Kenyon on behalf of City Attorney and Police Department.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And next, we would move on to the 2017 limited use parentheses lease agreement with Luis Tellez for Taco Express. This is another renew what we've been doing every year.
It is. I can just speak briefly about it. It's, again, a license agreement to allow Mr. Tellez the ability to run his food truck on the same property that he's been using in the past. This agreement was put together, I think, many years ago by Scott Riggs, and it's been updated to reflect each and every year that it's been renewed. And again, everything in the agreement makes sense. We've used it in the past. It's worked just fine. And I'll leave it at that.
Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, that we accept the 2017 agreement with Luis Tellez for Taco Express.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
May 5th, we get some good tacos again. Wonderful. My mouth is watering already. Request for combination of parcels 66-520-0040 and 66-520-0050. Boring fine. This is a simple matter of two parcels that are joined that they have owned for some time and just combining them under one description.
Exactly. It sounds like, Mr. Mayor, request was made to the Goodhue County Land Records folks. It needs to get the blessing from the city before things get processed, so it's very straightforward, just like you said, it's a request to combine the two parcels into one.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Schedule a meeting to discuss process for selling current fire hall. We intend to hold a closed meeting sometime in the next month.
So, Mayor, you can either look at, the first suggestion I would have would be either before or during the May council meeting. Otherwise, you could hold a special meeting also. But I guess my thought would be to do it like with a lot of special meetings before the council meeting or during the council meeting or some variation. There we go. A little levity.
I think that'd be an excellent idea.
Yeah.
To hold it before.
Or after. You know, one thing about after, if you have it afterwards, people have left and they can come back, but,
Right.
you know, either before or after, no problem, but I think when we
Yeah, the only thing with having it after is, depending on how late the regular meeting goes, I mean, like, this month and last month were fairly, reasonable
we'll have Mike,
agendas.
we'll have Mike speed it up.
Okay, but you get a real long agenda and it can get late, but, yeah, that's fine. I mean, any of that is good. It's, the reason for this meeting will be to talk about parameters of that building and, how you're gonna sell it, take quotes, I mean, without getting into too much specifics here. And because it's a real estate transaction, municipally owned land, that it should be done in a closed session.
I guess my preference would be to do it before the meeting, simply because after the meeting, you have people present that wouldn't be involved in this, and sometimes it takes a while to clear everybody out, but up to you, how do you feel about this?
I would say before, that way you kind of got an end in sight.
I'm either way.
What'd you say, John?
I'm either way. I'm riding that way too. I'm sorry, but
What was that, Duncan?
either way, before or after, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay, well,
Keep wishy-washies and.
I mean, I guess when I look at after the meetings, we don't know if it's gonna take 15 minutes, we don't know if it's gonna take a half an hour, we don't know if it's gonna take an hour.
Well, if we're gonna start the meeting early, how long, we gotta cut it at 7 o'clock for the regular council meeting.
yeah, and this meeting would be not for making firm decisions, more for exploring possibilities and,
Process, how are you gonna go
Yes.
about dealing with it, parameters, things like that. I would hope that it wouldn't take more than an hour, realistically. Can't say for sure.
You can always schedule it for 6 o'clock, if need be, go into your open session and then reopen the closed
Exactly,
session.
what
I
if you
thought
need
you
to.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so are we reaching a consensus of 6 o'clock on the 5th or 5:30? Need an hour?
Yeah, I think 6 o'clock would be.
Fred, if you, I know you want it after.
To me, no, it doesn't make any difference.
What time would you like to start?
It's just fine, so
Okay.
pick it up and go.
So, 6 o'clock, May 5th it is.
On what day?
May, the day of the council
The
meeting.
day of the council meeting.
May 11th, rather.
Midnight.
Midnight.
Nine. One of those.
What's the matter with me? Somewhere at the 5th. I want to answer that.
It doesn't matter.
May 9th, yes. Then we would pass over financial, the consent agenda item, old business having nothing, and move on to new business. Kenyon Veterans Color Guard Memorial Park dedication closure of a portion of Second Street. Mr. McDonald.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. What I'm passing out to you is park description and some photos of the park.
Thank you.
Okay, as many of you noticed, we've done a lot of work down at the park. We think we got it to a point to have an official dedication ceremony, just throw it off and indicate it officially as a veterans park. The date we have selected for that is July 15th, this year, 2017, at 1 o'clock the ceremony would take place. Dave, you want to hold that up there?
Yep.
Comrade Dave Inman here to help me, he'll be an easel. And I talked to Chief Lee about it last week. What we'd like to do, I'm trying to say from noon 12 to 3 o'clock, the County 12, Boulevard Street, Second Street, whatever it's called, between the elevator and the park. To close that off entirely, what we'd like to put in there is, we're inviting several color guards from various communities, put in chairs. I talked to John Nolan about getting chairs. It'd be a place for them to sit down, observe, and also for the public. And then we'd like to I just kind of put that time, but maybe about the same time, 12 to 3, to redirect traffic down 56 down like Langford for that same time period. Just because we don't know how many people we're gonna have. We had a meeting last night. We could have a couple hundred, maybe we'll get by with it. It'd be great. So I just want to inform the council what we'd like to do. I don't know if it's something that you got to handle. Lee said he was gonna contact MnDOT. We close it off for parades, the Rose Fest parades and Slang Cutter. Briefly, like for Memorial Day. So this is what we'd like to do. We think it's just something to showcase what we've got in our community. And while we'll be talking to you, Mr. Mayor, you will be speaking on behalf of the city. Greetings. And our program isn't going to consist of long. We hope to keep it within an hour. That's why, it's just more or less to get the public in and out. A speech, some observations of the park, and more or less a patriotic theme to the program. So, like I say, I don't know if it has to have council approval or how we're going to handle this, but I'm sure we'll get it handled. So I just wanted to let people know what we planned, what we would like to do that day. So is there any questions or comments?
It'll be very fluid, it'll make it work. I'm honored to work with the veterans, so it'll be fine from our end.
I've already talked to the fire department for traffic directing. We've got every volunteers, so I think we can do it a safe way. It's a Saturday. The only thing I get concerned about is semi-traffic trouble, you know.
Exactly what I was thinking of, running semi down Langford.
Yeah,
We might want to hurry up and get a little better patch where that street was dug up for the water main work.
and then coming in from the east on 12, you know, we run down Sleece Street.
That wouldn't be a
I don't
problem.
think that'll be a problem.
We'll make it work.
I'm sure we will.
And it's what MinDOT would say about detouring 56. That might be an issue, but I think it can be handled.
I'll visit with them this next week. I'll get their input.
Okay, well, that's what we're proposing and gonna make this work, hopefully. Thank you.
Well, I don't think I can get out of appearing by not approving this street closure, so I will make a motion to approve closing that street for this period of time.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to ask,
John, second that?
I'd like to add anything the city can do to help. Because definitely, what a beautiful entrance to town.
Right. Some, you noticed, the utilities was doing some practicing on cutting down trees. Finally got the right one, but I think we eliminated 2 unsightly trees down there, so.
Now you know what to do with the old people saying the wrong tree.
50-50 chance.
There's one more.
There's one more yet, John?
Well, there was 3 that we could have chosen.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you.
Okay. Kenyon Fire Relief Association requests for June 24th, 2017. Open house for the new fire hall and the fireman's dance, being in a warm time of year for a change. What a concept that is. So we have temporary liquor permit and dance permit. They can both be approved with one motion.
So moved.
Second that one.
On favor?
Aye.
That's gonna be fun.
It'll be a busy day, but
Oh,
we're looking forward to
warm weather. I can't believe having that dance when it's warm. Even if it rains, it'll still be comfortable. Kenyon Country Club liquor license renewal, another annual thing. Move to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Updated job descriptions for administrative assistant / deputy clerk and finance clerk.
So you have the 2 job descriptions in the meeting packet. I went through both of these job descriptions starting several months ago when I kind of got them wrapped up here. When Pam gave us her notice that she was going to be hanging it up on July 7th. Most of what was changed in these descriptions is just cleanup and just making them more modern, for lack of a better description. Taking out some of the old references to different old things and just
Bringing
trying to.
them closer to the reality of what the
Yeah,
jobs
yeah,
actually are.
and exactly, that's the other part, was just to try to make them reflect totally what the 2 jobs do before. Just to put it in perspective, I would say they were 90% accurate, so I just basically kind of tweaked the other 10% of them. So not a huge change. The one thing that I would say though, with the bookkeeper positions, I think we need to have a different title for that position. Now, I have put in here finance clerk, but we could certainly look at something like finance officer, or accounting clerk. I wasn't quite as excited about that, but we need something a little more encompassing. So it's not like a full-blown finance director, but, you know, I think we need something that's got a little more responsibility to it to reflect the position.
Or gravitas.
Yeah, it doesn't impact, you know, the pay at the current point or the salary range, but it's just, I think we need to come up with a better title for the job. So that's another thing I'm suggesting that we do with that. So, we have, basically though, that's the main difference. I think though, in a nutshell, from a duty standpoint, what I propose to do is have the finance position be primary for payroll, and then have the administrative assistant deputy clerk do more of the KMU board things right now that Sue does, because I think they're more parallel with what that does. Now, to alleviate people's concerns, though, I will say that Sue is still going to be heavily involved with KMU, you know, for several months or longer. But I think just the minutes and some of the board stuff, that clerk position would better fit, you know, what they do. And Sue is still probably going to do some of the KMU things that she's doing right now with CMPAS and some of that. We'll see how that goes. Some of this will be a work in progress, some of these transitional things, especially with the KMU stuff. But I just think that it would be better to kind of have those be more consistent with the positions, because right now you have, you know, Sue doing some of the what you might call clerk things with KMU, and then the clerk position, administrative assistant position with payroll. And again, the thing too is the new person will learn payroll to back up. So I mean, we'll see how these things go, and if they don't work or we decide to change them, you know, we'll look at that. But I'd like to try to look at initially. Sue's got to learn the payroll from top to bottom anyway, since Pam's leaving, and so she's got to be able to do that. So I just think that it would, you know. But I want to stress this: these things aren't set in stone either. So if we need to change things around, we
I think this is a good starting point, and after the replacement, Pam's position is hired on the job for a period of time, I can see a possibility that these job descriptions would need to be revisited and revised again.
Yep,
But looks like a good starting point, but right now, finance clerk seems to me as good a title as any, much better than the current bookkeeper, and the job description is more important than the title.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't get a discount on Sue's services by giving her a more impressive sounding title, but such is life.
So the personnel committee reviewed both of those job descriptions, and also talked about the hiring process for the, you know, replacement for Pam, which is standard, you know, how procedure that we follow for positions in the city. But they, you know, basically recommended the descriptions. So the council though would need to adopt them because they're amended job descriptions. So I don't know if there's any questions or anything.
I move that we adopt the descriptions as printed.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. So we move along to item E, liquor store, review and possibly approve siding quote.
Yep, we, just to back this up now, we started talking about this in for the end of 2015, and finally put in the budget for this year. I sought quotes previously from about 4 different companies. I talked to other ones that just didn't do a lot of, when I try to say commercial siding. So anyway, the only other quote I got was from Ryan, and that was about 45,000. And they said they would look at it, try to give me a lower quote, and I never got anything in writing. But David and I and Scott, I talked to earlier this evening about this. Normally we'd have a couple quotes in this range of, for work like this, but unfortunately we tried, but we had a hard time getting another one. So I would, from meeting, as far as having the quote standpoint, we did make the effort to try to get a second quote, but we really didn't get a what I would call a valid one, and we didn't get anything else in writing. So I would, recommend going with this L&M quote for $30,700. The liquor committee met Friday with him and kind of went out and looked at the outside of the building, and Doug was at that meeting. I don't know if you have any thing. The other thing I'll bring up too for next year, and we'll talk about this in the budget, would be to look at doing the back of the building. We talked with L&M, with Josh about that, Josh Lehrfeld. But I'm very comfortable, utilizing him. I think they do very good work. Their pricing, I think, is reasonable. And I think he's got a good handle on how to do this. I think the idea with it's 20 mil steel siding would be to look at some type of a mural at some point on the outside of that building, like a historical mural of some type. But we'll kind of cross that bridge once that gets all done. But that would be kind of the idea behind having the flat steel siding. It's similar to what the Kenyon market has on it for reference.
Obviously, it would beautify that side of the building by a factor of 1,000. The only question I wonder is, how confident are we that this would take care of the water infiltration problem that we have then on that side of the building?
I was going to say, can we get
Well,
some sort of a guarantee?
I think that it should take care of on the east side, the water that's coming in above the windows, that's gonna be all sealed off. So, I mean, that should take that out. I mean,
It should.
now the back, well, yeah, I mean, I can't speak for
The prior
contractor.
contractor.
We've talked about this repeatedly.
Uh-huh.
Been a perennial problem.
It is, yeah, it's when the wind blows that direction and it's heavy rain, it'll get in around the frames of the windows, so.
Is it getting into the wall, or is it getting into the transition between the
Yeah.
wall and the roof?
Well, it's the transition between right now the tile, which has a lot of, I won't say it's porous, but it's got plenty of cracks and openings between there and where the window is somewhere. It's coming in, and it's when the wind blows to the west and there's heavy rain, almost like vertigo. It doesn't happen that often, but it just gets blown in there.
Josh did address that a little bit on the windows and that, and he spelled out what he was going to do for the framing and everything. I felt pretty confident as to what he had to say. And right now, it's literally open, so you could almost take a hose up there and spray it and get water in, so.
It's a bit
The
scary,
way-
water running
yeah.
into those electrical.
Yeah.
The way he explained it, the way he showed us as it, I feel pretty confident. There'll also be a whole new cap on the top,
Right.
so that everything is sealed from the roof side and also the outside of the building too,
Yeah,
so.
he did say he was gonna review
Yeah.
the cap on that, so.
Doug, you've had steel buildings, you've got a new steel building, I've had a lot of steel buildings, and rain, I've never ever had a problem where the rain has come through the side of the building.
Yeah.
Of course, I've had windows in there, and never ever
Yeah.
had any issues.
That's why I brought up, is it actually getting in through the wall itself, or is it coming from the roof and getting into the?
I mean, you look at the wall, I mean, there's voids
Yes,
all over,
yes, I know.
so.
And he's gonna get an estimate for a parapet, is that what we call that, from the back of the roof? He's gonna talk to a roofer, he's gonna try to get an estimate for that back of that too. Probably won't necessarily be something we do this year, but he's gonna get try to get some pricing for that. And that probably would help with some of that too. And then we still wanna get I mean, I still wanna have Cole get out there and look at, put in some gutters in the back, you know, the seamless ones that are covered, because I just can't see where that's not gonna help, you know, alleviate